All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to try and connect two things that honestly seem like they're from totally different universes. On one side, you've got the super structured, kind of predictable world of chemical reactions. And on the other, well, that's the big mysterious quest for a longer, healthier life. It's a trip, really, from the lab beaker straight into the human body. So, right off the bat, I've got a bit of a puzzle for you. We're going to look at two completely different things, and our whole mission here is to figure out how in the world do they actually connect. Okay, so on one hand, we have this, a guide to chemical engineering. You know, it's jam-packed with formulas, reactions, all that industrial stuff. And then, on the other hand, you've got this idea, the science of living forever. I mean, we're talking about biogerontology here. One's about making things, the other's about, well, the very essence of life itself. Pretty different, right? And that is the big question we're tackling today. Seriously, what could possibly connect the rules for making, I don't know, plastics and fuel with the deep biological stuff that decides how long we live? It seems like a stretch. Trust me, the answer is way more straightforward than you'd expect. So, to figure this out, we've got to go back to square one. We need to start looking at life, but maybe not in the way you're used to. Not just as biology, but as pure chemistry. And really, it all starts with something like this. Super basic, right? We're talking about one molecule just splitting into two. This simple little exchange is, and I'm not exaggerating here, the fundamental building block of, well, pretty much everything. You know, these basic rules, they're the reason we have everyday materials, industrial processes, all the stuff we use and don't even think about. But that's just the beginning. Their reach is so much bigger. And that leads us to the miraculous. Think about it. If those simple reactions are like individual Lego bricks, then a living, breathing organism is like an incredibly complex, mind-boggling Lego creation. It's a huge jump in complexity for sure. But here's the kicker. It's all built from the very same basic pieces. And this all leads to a really fundamental idea. Your body, it's basically the most advanced chemical factory on the entire planet. No kidding. Every single heartbeat, every thought that pops into your head, every little movement, it's all just a chain of perfectly controlled chemical reactions. So, you see, life isn't just like chemistry. Life is chemistry. Okay, so let's take that idea and run with it. If life is this perfectly tuned chemical factory, what happens when the machinery starts to get a little rusty? When things start to break down? Exactly. That's the question right at the heart of the science of aging. Is getting older just a series of unwanted chemical side reactions? You know, a slow breakdown of that complex machine. And it turns out all the research is pointing to a big fat yes. Let me give you a perfect example. Take a word like immunosenescence. I know it's a mouthful, but it's a perfect illustration of this chemical breakdown. All it really means is that as we age, the chemical signals inside our immune system just get less efficient. So when you hear decline in immune function, it's not some fuzzy idea, it's a real, measurable change in how our molecules are talking to each other. And if we dig even deeper, scientists have found these core mechanics, like something called epigenetic modifications. The best way to think about it is like this. Your DNA is a giant cookbook with every single recipe your body could ever need. Epigenetic tags, they're just little sticky notes telling your cells which recipes to cook and which ones to skip. But over a lifetime, those sticky notes can get messy, right? They can fall off, get stuck on the wrong page, and what happens then? Total cellular confusion. You get errors in your body's chemistry. So, okay, if aging is a chemical problem and our genes are the ones writing the recipes for that chemistry, then the next logical question is, can we actually find the parts of that code that are responsible for a longer, healthier life? And the answer seems to be a huge yes. Researchers have actually found a whole set of genes that are directly tied to how well our bodies keep that chemical balance in check as the years go by. And what's so cool is how specific this gets. I mean, look at a gene like SIRT1. It's involved in DNA repair, stress response. It's basically the cell's own little maintenance group, running around fixing things. Then you've got FOXO3 and CETP, and both of these have been directly linked in studies to people who live exceptionally long lives. This stuff isn't science fiction anymore. This is our actual biological source code. And this right here is where it gets really exciting. The research is clear on this. By activating a gene like SIRT1, which is kind of like turning up the volume on its chemical instructions, scientists have already managed to extend the lifespan in lab animals. Think about that. This takes the whole idea from just watching what happens to actually stepping in and doing something about it. So how in the world do they even find these genes? Well, with some incredibly powerful tools. You've got technologies like GWAS, which is like massive-scale genetic detective work. It scans the DNA of thousands and thousands of people at once, hunting for any patterns linked to a long life. At the same time, things like next-generation sequencing let us read that genetic code faster and way cheaper than ever before, which just turbocharges the whole discovery process.
Ultimately, this all points to one big goal: personalization. Just imagine a future where we can look at your specific genetic code and design a plan. Maybe it's lifestyle changes, maybe it's specific therapies, all tailored to optimize your personal chemistry for a longer and, most importantly, a healthier life.
All right, let's bring this all together. We've seen that life is chemistry. We've seen that aging is basically a breakdown in that chemistry, and that our genes are controlling the whole show. So, what does all this mean for that puzzle we started with? This is the connection, laid out step by step. It's just a chain of logic, right? 1. All life is built on basic chemical rules. 2. Aging is just the result of our biological chemistry getting complicated and messy over time. 3. Our genes are the code that controls all of that chemistry. And 4, the big one, therefore, extending life isn't just a biological mystery, it's the ultimate chemical engineering problem. That completely reframes everything, doesn't it? It means we can go beyond just understanding the system, we can actually start to fix it, to optimize it, just like an engineer would with any complex machine. And just like that, it all comes full circle. The same basic understanding of how molecules bump into each other, the stuff you learn in a freshman chemical engineering class, that's the very foundation for the breakthroughs that could one day completely redefine what it means to grow old. Which leaves us with one last, kind of mind-blowing thought to chew on. If we keep getting better at mastering all these chemical reactions that make us who we are we heading towards a future where aging isn't this inevitable fate anymore, but is just another engineering problem on a list waiting to be solved? It's a wild question, and it really shifts the whole challenge away from pure biology and into the world of design.